Tonight, I want to talk to you about something that has been a beacon of change for centuries: the worm moon. This full moon, which typically graces our skies in March, marks the transition from the harsh grip of winter to the promise of spring. But its significance goes far beyond just the changing seasons. It carries historical meaning, scientific wonder, and cultural depth that makes it one of the most fascinating moons of the year. So let's dive into the story of the worm moon, its origins, science, and the way it has influenced human civilization. The name worm moon comes from Native American and colonial traditions, referring to the thawing of the ground and the return of earthworms, which in turn attracts birds and other wildlife. It was a sign that winter was loosening its grip, allowing life to stir once more. This moon is the final full moon of winter, or the first full moon of spring, depending on the calendar year. It usually appears in March, though the exact date changes each year because it follows the lunar cycle, not the solar one. Many cultures around the world have their own names for this moon. For example, the Celtic people call it the Moon of Winds, referring to the strong gales of early spring. The Cherokee call it the Windy Moon. In Europe, it is sometimes called the Chaste Moon, symbolizing purity and new beginnings. No matter the name, the theme remains the same: change, renewal, and the arrival of spring. Now let's get a little scientific. The worm moon, like all full moons, happens when the Earth is directly between the sun and the moon, causing the entire face of the moon to be illuminated. But what makes this particular full moon special? Well, first, it signals the spring equinox. The worm moon often appears close to the spring equinox, March 19th through the 21st. This marks the point where day and night are nearly equal in length, a key moment in Earth's orbit around the sun. Also, it can be sometimes called a supermoon. Occasionally, the worm moon coincides with the supermoon, meaning it appears larger and brighter because it is at a closest point to Earth in its orbit. When this happens, the moon can appear up to 14% larger and 30% brighter than a typical full moon. Just like any full moon, the worm moon influences ocean tides due to its gravitational pull. Animals, particularly nocturnal creatures, rely on its light for hunting, mating, and migration. Even human sleep cycles can be subtly affected by the brightness of the moon. For centuries, the worm moon has carried deep spiritual and cultural meaning. The Native American traditions, many indigenous tribes use the full moon as a way to track time. The worm moon was seen as a signal to prepare for planting and hunting as the earth began to awaken from winter. In modern pagan traditions, the worm moon represents growth and fertility and cleansing. It's a time for setting new goals, much like nature is preparing for a new season of renewal. Farmers throughout history have taken cues from the lunar cycles to determine the best times for planting crops. A full moon in March often indicates that the soil will be ready to be worked after months of frost. Today, the worm moon is a favorite for photographers and sky watchers. Its timing in early spring means clearer skies compared to winter, making it a perfect moon to observe and photograph. In our modern technology-driven world, it's easy to forget about nature and natural cycles. But the worm moon serves as a gentle reminder that the world around us is still deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. It reminds us that change is constant. Just as winter gives way to spring, we too experience cycles of growth, renewal, and transformation in our own lives. It encourages us to look up. In a time when screens dominate our attention, the moon is an ancient, steady presence that has watched over humanity for thousands of years. It connects us to history, The same worm moon that we see today was seen by our ancestors centuries ago, guiding their calendars, traditions, and stories. So the next time you step out on a clear March night and see the glowing face of the worm moon, take a moment to appreciate its significance. It's more than just a bright light in the sky. It's a symbol of tradition, a sign of hope, and a connection to both the past and the future. Let it remind us to embrace change, to welcome new beginnings, and to stay in tune with the natural world around us.